Chapter 136. Sitting high, the view is good. Ava didn't return to the big bed in her room from the courtyard's hot spring pool until after 2 a.m. Damn Adrian. She had no idea how he'd found her. Jushun had just left when he showed up right after, and he had the audacity to say it was because she hadn't come home before 11. Please, it was only 10:30 when he arrived. "You're following me again," Ava grumbled, lying in Adrian's arms. Adrian denied it. "I'm not." "You exposed your own whereabouts?" Ava suddenly remembered she'd used Adrian's supplementary card today. Careless. She angrily pinched the soft flesh at Adrian's waist. He was really so idle, constantly monitoring her. Ava's eyes lit up. She rolled on top of Adrian and kissed his face. "Adrian, can you help me find someone?" If she found someone herself, she'd have to spend money. Having Adrian do it was perfect. "What are you planning to trade for it?" Adrian's eyes curved slightly as he pulled Ava closer, drawing out the last syllable seductively. The sound made Ava's ears tingle. She'd encountered a male siren. "I'm planning to..." Ava blinked playfully, enunciating each word. "Drain you dry." The next afternoon, Adrian spotted Luke at a famous dance academy in New Harbor. Luke wore a suit, with a beautiful young girl holding his arm and carrying a cup of bubble tea. Ava pulled out her phone and snapped away. She watched as the two entered a hotel next to the school, then looked away and sent all the photos to Jushun. "Adrian, you'd never do this to me, would you?" Ava leaned against Adrian's shoulder, looking up at him, her eyes tinged with fear. Jushun dated her husband for 8 years before marriage. Who'd have thought that less than 2 years after marriage he'd cheat? She's so pitiful. As she spoke, Ava symbolically shed a few tears. Adrian pulled out a handkerchief, cupped her face, and wiped away the tears. "Do you think I would?" There was an imperceptible hint of amusement in the man's voice. Ava sniffled. "I know you're definitely not that kind of person, but I love you so much that I'm insecure, afraid you'll change your mind." She threw her arms around Adrian, smearing all her tears on his white shirt. Ava spoke with such genuine emotion that even she almost believed herself. But then again, having already secured the position of Mrs. Pierce, she had no intention of giving it up. Sitting this high, the view really was excellent. "Adrian, can you help me find a few people?" "What for?" Ava smiled sweetly. "To beat someone up." When Jushun arrived at the hospital, Luke had already had his wounds treated. His face was bruised and purple, his forehead wrapped in gauze. He looked utterly disheveled. A young, pretty girl stood beside him, looking at Luke with concern. Who's so awful they just attack people randomly? "Brother, does it hurt a lot?" The girl's voice carried a sobbing quality. Jushun stood in place without moving. Ava had already sent her the information about Luke's affair partner. Amelia Zun, 19 years old, ballet major at New Harbor Dance Academy. When she'd seen the information, Jushun hadn't known whether to laugh or cry. Her beloved cousin, whom she doted on since childhood, had become the interloper in her marriage. How ridiculous. Walk too many dark roads and you'll eventually meet a ghost. Don't you think so, Luke? Jushun looked at Luke with a smile. Luke, who'd been looking down, suddenly raised his head at her words. The moment he saw Jushun's face, he abruptly shook off Amelia's hand. "Jushun, don't misunderstand. It's not what you think." Luke strode to Jushun, urgently explaining. "Misunderstand?" Jushun laughed. "Luke, I've known you all these years, and only today do I realize you're such a coward who can't own up to his actions." "Sis, don't talk about Luke like that." Amelia wrung her hands, stopping in front of Jushun. "I'm the one who has feelings for him. It's really not what you think." "Don't call me that. It disgusts me." Jushun pulled out her phone and shoved it in their faces. "Don't tell me that when you're embracing and kissing with saliva strings between you, it's still an innocent relationship." Seeing the photos clearly, Luke's face turned deathly pale. "Jushun, let's go home and talk about this." Panic crept into his tone as he grabbed Jushun's hand urgently, pulling her toward the exit and leaving Amelia behind. Jushun had no intention of confronting Luke at the hospital, but she wasn't planning to go home either. Luke's mother was at home. She would defend Luke without considering right or wrong. "Let's talk right here." When they reached the parking garage, Jushun violently shook off Luke's hand. Luke told her to get in the car. She looked at him coldly. "Last month when I was in the car, I found used contraceptives. You said you'd lent the car to a friend. In reality, you were that friend, weren't you? Under the pale yellow lights, Luke's face looked especially ghastly. His mouth opened. Ju-shun, I was just momentarily confused. I was wrong. I promise there won't be a next time. For our daughter's sake, please forgive me this once. How much sincerity was in his words? Ju-shun no longer had the energy to investigate. When did it start? She video called Amelia frequently. Amelia had even attended her wedding. Luke knew Amelia was the only family member she cared about, yet he'd still chosen to betray her. She could never forgive him. Luke ran his hands through his hair, burying his face in his palms. The wedding day, I was forced to drink too much. When I came to, I found myself in bed with her. Ju-shun's hands at her sides clenched into fists, not even noticing as her nails dug into her palms. We didn't actually do anything that time. She lied to me. He'd seen red marks on the sheets and thought he'd taken advantage of Amelia while drunk, so he felt guilty toward her. He naturally didn't dare let Ju-shun know. Amelia said that as long as he was her boyfriend for one day, she'd promised to bury this secret forever. He'd agreed. After that date ended, he'd driven Amelia back to school. But before getting out, Amelia had suddenly embraced him. Her kiss was clumsy and inexperienced. He didn't want to betray Ju-shun. He had tried to refuse, but Amelia said she just wanted memories for later and wouldn't hold him responsible. In that moment, faced with such a pretty young girl's adoration, his reason was defeated. Only when it actually happened did he realize he'd been deceived. Nothing had happened between them that first time at all. But at that point, how could it easily end? Afterward, he'd blocked Amelia on all platforms, but Amelia had found him again. Ju-jun had been over 7 months pregnant at the time. Initially, he hadn't wanted to deal with Amelia and thought she was shameless, constantly pursuing her own cousin's husband. But ultimately, he couldn't resist the temptation. While Ju-shun napped, he'd betrayed her again. After that, it had spiraled out of control.